Hello there, in this video I want to show you step by step how I design the shoes in Fusion 360 and how I give them the patterns in Cura. I want to show you failures and problems that I had in the last weeks, some that I solved and some that I'm still struggling with. And also I want to show you some cool prototypes like this one. Let's get started. First I'm going to show you how I designed the sole. First things first, I made a sketch of my foot. Important thing is that you have a bit of space in front of your foot, so if you step, there is enough space for your foot. Then I made the same thing, but a bit bigger, and the sides it's about 5 millimeters more, and in the back it's 15 millimeters more. And then I did this sketch from the side, and this should be the side view from the sole. Next thing I did was to extrude this side panel about 100 millimeters in each direction, and then I extruded the smaller one with the side panel and only the overlaps. So extrude, but only the overlaps. Then I did the same, but with the bigger sketch, as you can see here. So we have this line here, like this, to this, to this, and we also have at the bottom this bigger line, which is this, and then this, and so on. So it's 5 to 15 millimeters bigger, and also it's this 3D sketch. And then what we do then is draw another sketch, which you can see here. And the important thing is that this here should be the side profile of the shoe. You can do whatever you want. You can do a curve or half a circle. It's just that this should be the profile of it. Then I also extruded it, or draw the sketch way over the top and over the bottom, and a bit to the side, like here, so we don't have problems with Fusion, because sometimes won't extrude or connect some things together when they are almost the same. So we don't have this problem then. What we do then is do a sweeping, and sweeping is this feature here, sweeping, and we do that with the path and the other trail right here. So the upper thing, the path, you take this right here, and this thing at the bottom here. Then you can make those sketches on this, those bodies invisible, and you also only have this one left. As you can see, in the front it's very thin. So what we do next, or what we do now, is cutting off the edges, or what is bigger than what we want. As you can see right here, we don't want this part. So now we have almost the finished sole. What we do now must be creating a bit more space, so that it's not almost the same, because as I told you, Fusion has some problems with that. And what we do, so we now have almost the sole, the finished sole, but now we need to fill it up in the middle. So we just extrude the little sketch of our foot up, and then we also just have what is overlapping with the side sketch. So then we have like this, and then we have need to connect them. So we have just this almost finished sole, as you can see here. And I think it looks pretty good. This style is a bit like the NMDs, if you know them. They also have this straight line here, but as I told you, we can take any pattern or shape we want. And then if you zoom out, now we have the next part, which is where we step in. So now I made this, so I duplicated it, so we have it twice, and moved it to the side. And then, as you can see here, I have made this little sketch right here, and this is what we do sweeping with too. So we have this line in here, which is essentially the sketch of your foot, but with 4 millimeters smaller and extruded up by 40 millimeters, and then extruding just the overlaps with the side sketch, which is this thing right here. So we have this line right here, this, and then we do a sweeping again with this little panel, and then we have this finished. I hope I can show you that a little bit better by doing this. Fine, okay. So we have this profile, that's this. We have the path, which is this. So the inner thing here, and the other line, which is this outer thing here. Hope we can see it, but it's lagging. Yeah, that's the problems you have with Fusion. So this outer thing here doesn't work. Here, I would just took this part. Yeah, we have to select all of them. So that's that. Then we want to have this, so that's coming in Cura later, but we want to have plane that we can stand on, not just the infill. And so we want to have 1 millimeter here and 1 millimeter thickness in here, where we can just stand on. So we just do the whole thing again, but so you can see here extruded the plane from the sole 1 millimeter down. You can see that somewhere. So here, this is 1 millimeter, and then we're doing this sweeping just again. So we draw another sketch for having the sweeping, or for having the profile of the sweeping just 1 millimeter lower. I hope you can understand the thing that I'm doing. So we have this upper sketch and this lower sketch, but both of the same. And then we do just another sweeping. Then we have the same sweeping, but 1 millimeter lower. So if we combine them, the both objects in Cura, we can have top layers for the one part, but no top layers for the second part. More detailed, I will show you that later. But for now, we have those two soles, and as you can see here, the one is just the other sole, but with 1 millimeter higher. So now we get to the upper, and as you can see, it's not very complicated if you know what you are doing, and I'm absolutely not knowing what I'm doing. And as I can show you right here, this is the upper that I made, and this is just an insole, which didn't work quite good, but this is, I think, very cool to have better profile to stand on. And then you have here, if the focus works, I don't know, you have here the nice upper. And the problem, I can tell you right now, is with the upper to connect it very good to the sole. And it's, on the one hand, it's a problem to just connect it. If you do it with glue or by stitching, that doesn't work quite good. And the other part of the problem, we have two problems, is that it doesn't look quite good when we do it. So when you see right here, it doesn't look really like shoe, it's just a straight line here, and I think it should look like this or something from the side, so that we have a curve and it goes like this. But no, it just goes like this, and I think that's not very pretty, and we have to do something against that. And I'm not quite sure what I want to do. Maybe just holding it in a particular shape and then going over it with a hot air gun, but I'm not quite sure if that's gonna work either. So now continue with the design. So as you can see here, that's just one sketch, and I'm gonna put it here, work on it. So as you can see here, it's just one sketch, and for that I took a paper, a very big paper, and put my foot on the sole, and then I took the paper and wrapped it around my foot and draw a line where the paper touched the sole. And then I laid the paper down flat and draw a bunch of lines in it, which are those right here. Those. Then I have the thickness at a lot of points, which I then could connect by just a line. And yeah, that's how the outer line worked. And then I made this inner thing, which is also just a connection between points that I measured out, like from here to here. It should be about 40 millimeters or 60, not quite sure, but yeah, that's just essentially what I've done. And then I also tried to give it a shape in the back. By doing so, I wanted to have this and this a bit outer, like this should be a ledge. I think it's called ledge. So I have a bit more space there, and I thought about doing a little triangle in here, so we have like more space in there. So it's not laying flat on your foot, but a bit standing out a bit. That didn't work so far, but that's just because I couldn't glue it together the right way. So then we have this sketch. And my design idea for that is just putting those squares, those shapes on here, which are extruded up by one layer. So it should be that depends on which nozzle we are using, but I think we're using a 0.4 millimeter nozzle, so that should be 0.2 millimeters high. Yeah, 0.21 millimeters high. And so that's just one layer. And my design idea for that, as I will show you, was to have just one layer of gyro infill, so it looks like this. And in my opinion, that looks pretty good. And what I wanted to do then is just take in a bunch of thin ropes and lay it over here, so like this, 4 times or 5, and then have here some lashes where you can put the shoe lashes in. And I think that could be really cool and could look very awesome. So what's next to do in the design? As you can see here, I tried to have a bit thicker fabric to have it just thicker and more comfortable, but that didn't work in the design. I can show you that here. I swapped the filament to have it black, but for these details, but I think it doesn't look particularly good. So yeah, I need a better idea for making thicker fabric. So then you can see here, and this is meant for gluing the sole to the upper, or the upper to the sole, and this should be around 1 or 2 layers thick. I'm not quite sure how I want to make it, but this is 2 layers thick. I think 2 or 3 layers is good. and at this line you can cut little pieces, little triangles in there, and then glue it on top of the sole. But that didn't work with my glue, so I'm not quite sure what I'm gonna do now. Maybe stitching, or I hope you have a good idea for how I could connect that. Write it in the comments if you have. So that's the design in Fusion. Now the important or cool part is coming in Cura. So now we are in Cura Slicer, and then first things first, we need to import both parts of the sole, the bigger one and the smaller one, and I now just have the half of the sole because couldn't print it in one piece, so I have to glue them together afterwards. And then you want to center them. I have no idea what it is with Cura or Fusion that they are so off the center and when you import them. But yeah, so now you can see we have this bigger part here and this smaller part, which is this one. And then you go to this right here, per model settings, and modify settings for overlaps. Then you press on cutting mesh because you don't just want the infill, but all cutting mesh. And then you type in, like, we need wall line count and also the top layers, if I'm right, and maybe also the initial bottom layers. Perfect. You set them to 0, that's right. And then the normal settings, you want to have at least the top layers 4, and also the wall line count right here. The infill, I would recommend taking 18% cubic infill. In the last videos I told you you should use 30% cubic infill, but that was absolutely wrong. You can see that right here, that's 18%, and it's absolutely like a brick. You can't bend it really, it's like very hard and not really bendable. The last shoe was just so soft because there were some extrusion problems in the print. So now you have here the shoe, and in my opinion looks pretty dope, but yeah, we'll get to the problems later on. So you can see it looks very good when you have it like this, and it seems to have no problems. You have this flexible sole, everything's good, and then this cage, or what you want to call this thing here, which you can put your foot in. And then what's also really cool, you can change you don't have to change the infill. Like here you have 18 grams, and when you go to the nozzle and 0.6 millimeter nozzle, it still will weigh about 80 grams. Yeah, 80 grams, perfect. And the infill will just be denser, although you have still put in 18%, but it looks a bit denser, but the individual strings are not as thick, and so it looks, I think it's a bit softer. Like here it's it has sharp edges and it hurts if you squeeze it, but those will be more but thinner strings, and I think you need to find a good good in between. Like this is pretty hard, and you feel it when you step on top of it, that there are parts that aren't really supported, different than others, and 0.4 millimeter nozzle would take forever, well, much longer, and it's not that strong, I think. So we could try it with 0.6 millimeter nozzle, and yeah, in the end that looks pretty good. The downside of this design is that I think you can see it already, you need support, and that it takes very much longer than this, 4 hours. Yeah, 5 hours, and despite that it's 12 grams of waste you don't really need. So yeah, last but not least, let's talk about the problems that I had and still have. First of all, um, we have the problem that this isn't a perfect curve. So when you step, you have here a very big straight plane where you curve a little bit and then just step like one big plane, and then here's a bit curvature again. And of course we can easily in the design make a bigger curve that's just like this or something, but then we just have no place where we can put it on the print bed, and there's just no surface area on the print bed. So there we need a bit of a compromise. I think for the next part we will have about this much, just the bottom layer, and then from here to here is curvature to the top. And for walking, it's pretty much easier and better to have a curvature all around the foot. Then the next thing is the connection between the upper and the sole, and I'm not quite sure how I'm gonna do it. As you can see here, I tried stitching it. I hope you can see that. That's not working very good either. The glue, I have no idea with the first version of the shoe. Like you can see it here. Some parts I melted and some parts I glued, but the glue worked. I have no idea which glue it was. It just, I didn't have any more of it, but the glue worked. And now I bought two different super glues that both don't work. And yeah, I'm not quite sure how I'm gonna do it. Then we have side stabilization in the sole, and this is those parts here. And I'm not quite sure if they are perfect as they are, because here they are way stronger than this plane here in the middle. It's very weak, but so useful. Different than that. That's, I think that could hurt if you step on it. And also I'm not quite sure in which angle I want to have it so that it's perfect for connection with the upper. The next part is in the front of the foot, so the toe box with the upper. We need a curvature, but we need it in multiple directions. So we need to curve it here, but also in the front. And if you know logic, if you curve it in the front and on the side, there is too much material here in this corner, so there's excess material, but I don't want to have a need to stitch there or anything like that, or cut something off. So I'm not quite sure how I'm gonna solve this problem. Like you have a bit of curvature here, and then in front too, that just doesn't work. I know for shoes like those leather shoes like Air Force and Dunk and Jordans, stuff like those, they have like an upper leather piece and then something then that wraps around this whole thing, so they don't have this problem with stitching, with bending those pieces. They just stitch them together and that works for most of the time. And yeah, I just look for a sock-like fit like Ultra Boost or something like that, because I really like those shoes. And yeah, the next part is padding, because of course we can with this make very nice fabric like prime knit. I think it's prime knit, and this is very nice. But you have this just this very thin but strong fabric, and when we want padding, I'm not quite sure how we're gonna do that, because I tried it here to do more padding, but it's apparently stronger than this one. Like this little black piece is stronger than this one, or at least it feels like that. Also, it's not very soft, different than this one here, which makes it not quite useful for padding, because padding is should be soft. So I'm not quite sure what we want to do there either. Maybe with a 0.2mm nozzle, but also into like that, or anything else. So then a very important problem, which I'm not gonna show is possible to solve with TPU, because it's about the TPU itself, is cushioning versus suspension. And of course we can make very nice cushioning with just fidgeting around with the infill, and I think 80% or something between 20 and 15 is, depending on your weight, is very good. But yeah, this way we can only have a very good suspension. But I'm not quite sure if it's possible with TPU to get this nice suspension we get with all those foams we have, like Zoom X and stuff like this. And yeah, this suspension, like it's this urge to expand of TPU, I think it's not really there, so we only can get very good suspension. What do you think? And the next part, the last problem I have so far, is an outsole. For now we have just this thing, which is pretty nice. It's not really an outsole, it's just the infill, which acts like a profile. So we have kind of an outsole, and I tried making an outsole once with this design, which is absolutely bad. It's absolutely failure. It's way too hard, but you learn from it. So if you try to bend it, it's only going to bend in the middle here. Here where we have an outsole, it's very hard to bend and not really possible. So an outsole like you have on most real shoes isn't really possible. Of what I can think is when we have lots of lines here, so they aren't connected throughout the whole part, just here, 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 and here. Maybe that's gonna work. Or here one piece, and then at the hinge where your foot hinges, you can do another part, and then in the back I don't think there's gonna be lots of hinge action. But yeah, I think here we all can agree we need more flexibility here. And yeah, that's all the problems I have. Hopefully you have ideas how we can solve them. I hope there are possibilities to solve them. But yeah, if you have any questions left, if you have ideas for the problems, please write them in the comments, and then I catch you in the next one.